Hello, I'm Father Bob DeWicki. I'm the director of the Tepeyac Institute here in El Paso, and I would like to welcome all of you to the Christian Formation Program that we are offering online. I hope it'll be a good experience for you. This year, I would like to talk a little bit about a new perspective that I would like to build into the program. Um, the program that I would like to talk to you about is what does it mean to be an Eucharistic church? This is a new perspective, and it goes back to about 1,000 years ago when we lost this perspective, but it was very present in the first centuries of the church. The notion that when we celebrate the Eucharist, it reflects what we mean uh, or how we should be a church. And there's a bridge between how liturgy is done and how we are as a people, as a faith community. There's a relationship between the two. Often we might think that we go to Mass on Sunday to pray, to worship, and we fulfilled an obligation, and then from there we move on. What I would like to focus on during this year's program on Christian formation is to see how can we create a better bridge between the Eucharist we celebrate at liturgy and the church, and by church I mean the community, is to reflect Eucharist in its structures and in its way of being. So we celebrate the Eucharist at Mass every Sunday. And the challenge is how do we translate the Eucharist that we celebrate into the structures of our parish, of our diocese? How do we become more like Eucharist? So, if the Eucharist, as it is defined for us, that embodies the values of participation, dialogue, communion, a variety of ministries that are working in harmony in order to create a sense of unity through the diversity of ministries, how is that translated into our parish structures? What we do for 1 hour, really, when we celebrate the Eucharist, is a statement on how we envision a better world and a hope for a new heaven and a new earth in the end time. The central focus at the liturgy is the altar table. Everyone is invited around the table. How do we take that symbol and place it in the world in which there's so much hunger, poverty, there's war and conflict? How can the symbol of the table help create a better world, to bring resolution to conflict? How can we make sure that everyone receives his or her daily bread? So how do we translate again the values that we celebrate in the Eucharist at that 1 hour on Sunday into an envisioning of a better world done through better structures and at the parish level and at the level of the diocese? And we're all called to participate in this in one way or another. What we envision is a center of gravity that pulls us forward into time. And we celebrate that center of gravity of coming together in communion with symbols and gestures, objects that we use, and ritual. They all point in one way towards participation, dialogue, and communion. We gather together around one table. We sing, we listen, we remember, we share the sign of peace, we eat and drink. We read from a book and share a little bit of bread and wine. These are all gestures and expressions of participation, dialogue, and communion. So in the liturgy, there is participation. Is there participation in the parish? Liturgy is about dialogue. Is there dialogue in our parish? Liturgy is about communion. Is there a sense of communion in the parish? We can also ask the question, what is the role of the priest in all of this? The role of the priest is to be an architect of communion, a builder of community. He is the one who recognizes the movements of the Spirit of God in the community and calls our attention to it and says, this is where God is. This is where communion is, community. Uh, so the role of the priest is to awaken in all of us, really to collaborate in a way that we can build a better society. The Christian Formation Program deals with all the aspects of Catholic identity as as a Eucharistic Church. We deal with such topics like the Bible, tradition, sacraments, saints, ministry, social justice, and evangelization. But once there's an understanding that we are called to become what we celebrate, that is, to be an Eucharistic community, then there will be an Eucharistic society. I use the term Eucharistic society in a way that there's greater respect for people of diversity, people of different social classes, of different cultures. Eucharistic society is a preoccupation to build a better community, a quality of life. So it is a place where there's flexibility rather than polarization, understanding rather than defensiveness, a common good rather than a focus on ego self-centeredness. So this is what it means to be an Eucharistic church or a Eucharistic community. The foundations of participation are laid and structures of dialogue are in place in every parish throughout the diocese. Then we ask the Spirit of God, the Spirit of Christ, to bless His people with the gift of communion and peace. Once again, I would like to express my hope and desire that the Christian Formation Program will be a good experience for all as we work together to try to build a better world and a better community in which we can all live and celebrate God as the center and focus, the source of all life.